Let's get them free.
Now that they're done talking, because I know it's that I know I can just talk over them, but they are very loud in my ears, and I want to turn that down. But yeah, hello everybody, and welcome to some Destiny 2. I'm going to be just doing the Guardian Games stuff while we do this. Yep, that was Xeno. I heard that. I would do this post-com, but I don't want to really do the extra work. But with the season coming to a close, I thought I'd talk about my thoughts on Alice Witch Queen, my thoughts on Lightfall as a whole. Because I meant to do it a lot sooner, but a mixture of different things came up, and just in general felt like it would be a better idea to do it now rather than in a separate video. Damn.
It seems this new Zaan has done some redecorating. Though I don't think I can call this an upgrade in terms of taste, but perhaps the cannons could be of use.
Alright, let's head through here. Actually track this quest so I can remember where I'm at. I'm actually almost there. But yeah, Lightfall. Let's talk about some of the things that aren't related to the campaign for now. First things first, all of the different little tweaks and changes, I think, are really good. I overall think that a lot of the things that they did with the game, in terms of balance changes, were really, really good, and I think a lot of them were made in good faith. And overall, I think things just feel a lot like linear fusion's dominating and getting the nerf I expected. Machine guns becoming as powerful as they are was not expected. So I'm actually very happy because I do like myself a good machine gun. Literally, I've been using Commemoration for so long now that it's just like I want to get the new good one from Deepstone. The overall campaign experience, in terms of story, I will admit was kind of muddled and muddied. Like this whole, like, oh, you should know what the Veil is. We have to go protect the Veil. And they kind of just make it seem like you're supposed to assume you know what the Veil is, but you don't. Because there's only one mention of it in the lore, I think, before Lightfall, and it was name-dropped by Rasputin in his final message. So, yeah, that's a complaint I do have, is that the Veil feels very wishy-washy. There are worse things to be worried about in the campaign. The difficulty changes, I think, while it makes sense, and I'm glad they happened, I think were a bit much. I think my biggest complaint still is the fact that it definitely feels like they catered a little bit more to the diehard audience more than the people like me who don't play this game super seriously. I do tend to play it seriously. I'm going finishes on champions and emoting, so yeah. But it feels like it was a bit much, especially in that final boss fight with Callus in the Lightfall campaign. That felt like a chore, and I only got the footage that I did on normal mode because I just wanted to beat it and be done with it. And then I found out about the cheese that lets you can just go into the stairs and fight Callus there. You can't do jack diddles to you, and then go up top above the Veil and do it that way. Yeah, like, I hate that I had to cheese it because of how hard it is. I understand it's a mixture of the boss fight room is very, very tight, and the attacks he does are very, very, very strong. But I really felt like I was doing, like, I had no way of, like, no defense. I think the changes to resilience were warranted, but I still feel like it was a bit too much of a nerf in terms of effectiveness, because people say, oh, the resilience changes weren't enough. Listen, I don't care who you are, I should not be dying in a well to a sniper that is one-shotting me. Like, with 100 resil. Like, I understand not having 100 resil and dying to a sniper in a well, that makes sense. But if I'm speccing into having high resil so that my my well sword doesn't take super damage, like a lot of damage, or so it can take a lot of damage, rather, I should at least be able to take a sniper shot before having to worry about my health not regenning and I have to, like, place a rift or something. I should not have to worry. I should not have my health be constantly in a state of, like, oh, it's always critical. Because that's what it felt like. I literally felt like I was constantly on the edge of death during the entire campaign. And it was really, really tough doing that on my Titan. But I did just do the cheese again. But thankfully on my Titan, I feel like it was a little bit better of an experience there on my Warlock. I've yet to do it on Hunter, so I really can't say much on that front. But in terms of... yeah, but in terms of, like, this... like, Titans and Strand and everything, I do think I had a better experience. And speaking of Strand, I think Strand is really fun. I think it needs to be a little bit tuned better to be a little bit more... I think it definitely has a little bit more fun value than it... like, a little bit more into the utility than it is fun. I think the grappling hook needs to... In my honest opinion, I know it's a little OP, but I think if you grapple and you do not melee, your grapple should be immediately refreshed. I want to be able to grapple basically 24/7, which I know feels a little bit OP, but if I use the melee, then I understand if it gets expended. But if I just want to grapple because I fell off an edge, or I want to get someone really, really quick, I feel like this should be fine. Especially since we're getting the shoulder charge and stuff, and Hammer Strike is getting that nerf in next season. I think having more mobility is good. Like, I understand, it's like, if they're going to nerf mobility, get rid of Shadowskate. Make Shadowskate impossible, or give Titans the ability to use Thruster on more than one class. Like, I understand Titans are not meant to be very mobile, but we should have something that we can use fairly consistently on cooldown. Like Icarus Dash, or like a Hunter Dodge. Or just something that allows us to have some mobility at least in PvE. I think in PvP... Shoulder Charge expending melee energy if it doesn't hit anything, that's a very warranted change. Believe me, the amount of times I rage about it happening to me and then doing the exact same thing on my Titan is just like, yeah, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. I will admit that in that scenario. But I still think in PvE it should be either non-existent or less of a difference. Let's deal with this Tormentor, because these are going to be fun to deal with. Let me go with that Sniper, because that Sniper's going to... Oh, crud. But, yeah, it's just like, I want the game to be hard, don't get me wrong. But, going back to the difficulty, because I realized I went off topic. I want the game to be hard, but there's a point when there's a difference between hard and it's fun, and then hard and I don't want to play the game anymore. I literally stopped playing Destiny for a really long time, like almost 2-3 weeks, I think, basically. Like, maybe hopping on, like, for a little bit of time during the week. Because of, like, how difficult Vexcalibur is. The legendary version of Vexcalibur, which we finally got done, by the way. I have my Queensguard title. But it is so unnecessarily hard that I think it's a sign of, like, I understand things need to be difficult, but if it's literally to the point where it's like almost like people are saying it's way too difficult solo, and you need to. It's basically people are treating it like a GM in terms of its like how difficult it is. I think it's a bit much. Like I think really the one thing that would make that mission a little bit easier is remove the revive counter, at least for co-op. I think the overall damage and everything is fine. Maybe tone it back a little bit more so they don't hit nearly as hard. But other than that, I think the mission's in a good spot if you just remove those revives. Like solo, obviously you kind of can't do that. It makes it the whole point. But I think if you just made it so that the revives aren't there for co-op, or either that, or if you're gonna give us revives, make it so that the timer doesn't persist like it does in the campaign. Because if you use a revive, if somebody dies and you take 10 seconds to revive them, that's 10 seconds you no longer have to res somebody else. We had an instance where I died and the game instantly ended because we only had 10 seconds left on our timer. Like, that should not be how it works. It should be just how it works in, like, raids or GMs. I would rather be tied to, like, GMs and we have a set pool of revives that we can see than it be like the campaign and you basically get, I think it's in this it's 2 revives, but I'd rather have be this 1 res per person. I'd rather it be a pool of revives that we can all see that you earn by progressing the like encounters and killing stuff like champions and bosses and such. I think it's just it needs to be like a little bit too difficult. I still like the idea. Make it like a GM where it's a pool of revives that we can all see and stuff like that, because I think it's just a bit too difficult. But then again, I'm not a game dev, so I really can't say what's better and what's not. But it's just giving ideas, you know. And again, going back to Strand, I think Strand is again very fun, but feels like it could be so much better in terms of a utility. Because don't get me wrong, it is very, very good utility. I have my Infinite Suspend build that Dado made. I use that one just because it's the one that requires me to use the least amount of brain power. And then I have, obviously, you have a bunch of, like, Sever, like, stuff that involves with Sever. And Threadlings on Warlock, which I actually did give a try, and I was alright with it. I think it was okay. Also, Chair. I love this finisher. Boom. But yeah, I just think it's a bit much to have I think it's a bit much to have this whole Strand be, I don't want to say underpowered. I'd rather something be underpowered on launch than be overpowered, because Strand in PvP sucks. Honestly, there's not really much. I've not really run into it unless it's like Warlock, and even then it's just like eh. But in Stasis in PvP was busted, and in PvE was kind of meh. Unless you're a hunter, in which case it's like, damn, this is really, really strong. But even then, it was still kind of meh. But yeah, you kind of get the idea. It's like, I'm glad it's not super powerful, but I definitely think it could get some tuning, and which it is. Oh my lord. Okay. But yeah, I'm like I'm very hesitant to want to say that Lightfall, in terms of its difficulty, is in a good spot. I definitely think it needs to be tweaked a tiny bit more. Like, Neomuna, I understand it being really difficult because they wanted to make it more of a threat, but the Lightfall campaign feeling easier than Neomuna is a little bit of a problem in some cases. Ooh, Worm Gods, and another buzzard.
Hydra have but one head, Devrim. Yes. Vex Hydras. do. There's an old Earth mythological creature that...
What's that worm god roll? I'm actually
You
curious.
would do well to leave your hide site to
Those
better
views.
understand our enemies.
I'll do that.
I'll give this one best dressed, and I'll give this one. Never mind. But yeah, I very much think that as a whole, Lightfall is really, really good. I just think it needs to be tuned a tiny bit more in the sense of it's not too hard, but it's not hard enough. Like, certain missions felt too easy, while other missions felt way too hard, right? It's like, there needs to be a scaler. Obviously, it scales pretty well. I think once you start hitting the mission where Rohan blows himself up, I think that's, like, the peak difficulty in terms of where it hits, and then it just kind of wiggles out and then spikes again at Callus. If there was just, like, if they moved that mission, maybe not earlier in the campaign, but if they moved that difficulty down and made it so that it was a little bit more of a smoother progression, I think it'd be easier. Because it feels like there is a big jump in difficulty at that mission. But with also it is reset, so I get to get some more bounties. Sidearm, banding medals.
Why not?
We'll go with this, and I'll probably do that one later.
Stay safe.
But yeah, I'm very much just concerned with how the game tends to be sort of forcing this whole idea of the game needs to be permanently, like, almost on the, like, almost always killing you in one shot, which I don't disagree with. I think in certain activities it should. Like, GMs, make sense. Master raids and dungeons, yeah. Absolutely. But the campaign, unless it's on Legendary, should not be super difficult. I'm not saying it is, because I did it on normal, again, recently, on my, Warlock. I ran through it again on normal mode. Or, no. I ran through it on my, Titan on Legendary, for the first time. And then I ran through it again on normal with a couple of friends who didn't do the campaign at all. And yeah, it felt like, I don't want to say it was a cakewalk up until, it was like pretty easy up until like Headlong, the mission where Rohan dies and they're protecting the Veil, and the one mission where you're fighting inside where the radio mast is in Callus's ship. Those missions were like the only headaches, and even then it wasn't too difficult. It was still fairly hard. It's just it wasn't so difficult that it was like, oh my god. But that being said, I will say the story, again, very rocky, but the beats it hit, the tone it hit was, in my opinion, and I'm going to say something that's a little controversial, I think it was good. A lot of people say it felt very cringy 80s action movie. I kind of liked it. Like the training montage before Headlong, I thought that got a laugh out of me. I was like, like I know it's meant to be like, this is meant to be the Infinity War before Endgame, in terms of like what it's supposed to be, but having a little bit of comedic relief is good. I mean, look at Endgame. Endgame has Ant-Man and Paul Rudd in it. Paul Rudd is, like, you cannot make Paul Rudd do something serious because he will somehow make it funny. Newt. Newt and Cell, oh, this is a great team. We'll be fine. But, yeah, it's just like, I'm very much in the mindset of wanting to make it so that everything is, or I'm very much in the mindset of making things very accessible while also still keeping some difficulty. It felt like, again, Lightfall on Legendary felt like a Legendary campaign. It definitely had some weird balancing that I think were odd, in places. Like, certain things felt harder than others, and etc., etc. But where it did get hard, it was difficult. It wasn't so difficult I was angry. I mean, I was. But, it wasn't so difficult that I... It wasn't so difficult that I was constant... It wasn't that consistently. Like, the first mission I died quite a bit in, because also I was under level. But once I was on level, or over level technically, and then it brought me down, wasn't too hard. I did struggle a little bit. The first Tormentor fight is pretty brutal. But now that but when I knew it was coming, it was like, oh, okay, this isn't bad. It's very much that way with Witch Queen too. Witch Queen and Legendary, doing it the first time around is very difficult, but doing it on the second or third time, yeah, it's not that bad. Only real headache in Witch Queen is the Communion, and I think the Ritual. I think the one with the one where you have to go across the bridge. In the apothecary area, like right before the end. That Warbeast was not dying there for a minute. Give me that hammer back.
Earlier, I informed the Empress we had already dealt with Zahn, or at least I thought we had. But he's returned somehow.
Names hold power. It is not
Oh,
unlikely
crap.
this new Zahn is a successor who has taken up the mantle.
Regardless, he must be stopped.
But let me talk about the season, because that's technically part of the initial expansion. Season of Defiance at the start felt very... I'm not gonna say weak. It felt very light, which is what I expected a story in the expansion season to be. Very like light, not super heavy on stuff. And like kind of just very meh, at least during the first week. Week 2 and 3 was pretty decent. When week 4 happened and we lost Amanda, I kind of was a little shocked, because I think everyone was, that they decided to kill off a major character in a season and not in an expansion. I understand the I don't want to say anger, but like the annoyance of killing off a minor character at that point. But on the same token, or a major character like that in such a minor thing, on the same token, it wouldn't have made sense if she just died at the beginning of the Lightfall campaign, you know? It would have made more sense if it was something as a result of her protecting the citizens of the Lost City. At least in my opinion, it makes sense. She died doing what she loved. As well as, there's this whole theory of, like, she's gonna come back as a guardian because of Zavala's eulogy, or when Zavala was first grieving. Devotion, bravery, sacrifice, devotion, bravery, hidden, like, basically repeating that over and over again. I do think we're gonna get Amanda back as a guardian. I just think it's going to be closer to final shape. And yeah, and also with I think another thing is, I think I definitely will say a lot of the season is going to be held kind of highly because of just overall this season, as well as probably Season of the Deep as well, because of the fact it's going to be on Titan, because of Sloane and everything, which has been officially revealed. I can talk about that now. At least in terms of what it's very much hinting at, we're going to Titan, because Sloane's right in the front cover out, and we have the Leviathan, which, if I remember to put the image up, I like the ocean. I love the ocean. Ocean's fun. If you don't know, much to the chagrin of Evie, likes to make fun of me for being a Markiplier ripoff. I hate the ocean. I hate deep water. I don't like it. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. As well as I know 2 other Destiny YouTubers are the same way, so I'm not the only one, thank God. But yeah, I'm excited for that. Going back on topic, with Zavala's voice actor passing away, Lance Reddick, I think a lot of the season definitely has a little bit more weight to it when it comes to like the seasonal like tone beats. Hearing Zavala basically talking in general and realizing he's probably not going to be around after Seasons of Deep because of the fact that Lance is gone is going to hurt. And it's very much a situation of what's going to happen. Are they going to recast him? Are they going to recast him, or are they going to just kill off Zavala? I hope they don't recast him, but I also hope that if they're gonna make him be a thing that if they're gonna make him die, I do hope it is in a way that Lance would have wanted for the Titan Vanguard. And if they do decide to kill him off, I do hope it's not just because he passed away. I hope that they at least find a way to weave it into the story where it does make sense. And it's like they didn't do it with Ikora, they did just recast Ikora. Because the original voice actress was getting expensive to recast Ikora, so they could just recast Lance. But at the same time, I do feel like if they do recast Lance, they need to do something in honor of Lance for the sake of it being him being as prolific of an actor as he was. Fucking, I watched through John Wick within the past year. I didn't even know he was in it until I heard his very, very iconic voice, and I was devastated. I was just like, oh. This was before he passed away, but like when I found out like how much he's in, it's just like, oh, devastated. But yeah, again, going back on topic to the story, the overall experience of Lightfall and Season of Defiance, I think again it is a very solid expansion with a lot of hiccups, because you all know what's great about this expansion? The fucking raid. The raid is, in my opinion, one of the most fun, albeit it has very obnoxious mechanics. Oh god. Okay, good. Like, in the instance of, like, the second encounter in Rude of Nightmares, I think it is probably by far my favorite raid in terms of encounters. Because I love first encounter. First encounter is very easy and simple. Second encounter is kind of Third encounter, pretty fun, and it's also got a huge lore implication, obviously. And then Nezarek, as much as a lot of people don't like his design, I think he's a fun fight. He basically does tip over. If someone just breathe on him, and he can't be soloed. Maybe not next season because of the nerfs to the Seal Starfire Protocol, but still. It's still a fun raid. Regardless, it's still fun even with everything going on. I still think it's probably my favorite raid. Probably not my favorite raid in Destiny 2, but it's probably my favorite raid. It's probably, if I had just between Vow and Rude of Nightmares, I definitely think I like Rude of Nightmares more. I think ever since day one of Vow, I had a sour taste in my mouth. From both the technical issues and the day one experience that I had. I think overall the experience could have been better. But that being said, I'm excited for the next dungeon next season because presumably it's going to be on Titan. I would assume if it's on Titan, I'd be shocked because we did get Spire on Mars with Mars coming back to the battleground. I think that same week. Or like that next week. But yeah, with all this stuff talking about, like, very much hinting towards Titan being the main point of the season, I'd be shocked if we didn't get, the dungeon on Titan. In fact, we're only at gold threshold right now. You haven't been finishing the champions enough. Go. Off he goes. Alright, up he goes. But yeah, overall, like, seasonal activity, I think it's seasonally fun. Very much a seasonal activity. It's nothing, like, to write home about. I think it's definitely a fun experience. The favors make the game... The favors? Oh my god. The favors and my void build make throwing shields constantly so much fun. Because I have second chances, so... and that's my main void exotic, is second chances, because I find second chances so much fun. Just being able to throw a disc and it can guaranteed break a shield, at least an anti-barrier shield of anything that isn't master. I posted it getting a buff next season. Yeah, I'm very excited for a lot of different exotic changes next season, if you haven't already noticed. But yeah, I think season activity is really good. The little final mission, I'm a little disappointed by. I'm expecting a little bit more out of it, but it's a season. It's like Season of the Deep's right around the corner. It's not that big deal. Oh, we did get the platinum threshold. Nice. Bonk. There we go. Rakazan is dead. Indestructible, I didn't die.
Well fought,
Damn.
Guardian. We've cut another head off the proverbial Hydra.
Damn, I didn't realize I didn't die.
One head, Deborah.
Yes. Vex Hydra do. There's an old Earth
I'm gonna give you
mythological
best dress to
creature-
that. It's a really cool drip, and you're getting
Hindsight,
dripping.
to better understand our enemies.
Oh, we got both weeklies done. And boom. Goes pink. Also, yeah, this is bugged for me. Hopefully, me going back to the tower fixes it. I'm also gonna realize I got the gold one, not the platinum one. But yeah, overall, I think Lightfall is a very solid expansion with hiccups that make it feel not as great. But that being said, I still think, as a whole, like, considering the full seasonal package, obviously Guardian Games and leading out of that's an event that will happen regardless. The full seasonal package, the full campaign, raid, all of the lore that's been kind of bundled in, as well as the destination, the characters, all that. Like, a lot of people hate Nimbus. I think Nimbus is adorable. I think they are, like, super endearing and funny because of the fact of they give me the vibe that they're very much are neurodivergent in some way. I think especially because of the last bit at the end of the campaign with Callus. It screams that he has, like, I don't want to say autism, but, like, some form of something like that where he cannot get the social cue of, hey, maybe you shouldn't be talking to the person whose father just died as if they are just another enemy, you know?
Check.
But you get the idea. I do like... Ooh, okay. I'm gonna check this one. I don't like either of these. I don't like Cascade Point on this thing. It's cool. It's a fun little gimmick, but I don't like it. What are you? No. I'm adjusting. But yeah, I think overall, again, the whole thing is a bit rocky, But I still think it's a very solid expansion regardless of that. I think it has room to improve. I think there is room for improvement that will be very, very good. It's just whether or not we get that improvement over this next year or so. As well as, again, they have a whole year of story explanations where we're going to get explanations to all of the story from Lightfall that doesn't make sense. So, I'm optimistic that we're going to be getting a lot more story that's going to make a lot more sense and going to feel a lot better. I'm also not going to say that Lightfall story was very cohesive. I do know there were some problems. There was a lot going on that definitely should have made more sense and been explained better. But as it is, I still think it is very solid and should not be discredited just because it felt too disjointed. I still think there is some good there. But that being said, hope you guys did enjoy this video. Again, I apologize for all of the COD the past couple of days. It's a mixture of that's all I really was been playing, and also just in general how I've kind of been feeling.
Eververse isn't just a title. It's a cross. Help me through this.
But I'm gonna go play some Supremacy. I'm gonna go play Supremacy and do this Platinum Challenge and try and see if I can finish up. Actually, once I finish the Nightfall one, I'm probably gonna go for the Neomuna one just so I can get the Neomuna challenges done. Because I still, just to show you what I need for Champ, I might as well do that. I need, obviously, this. I need to do Cloud Running, and then I'm done. But, that being said, hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, be sure to like, want to see more from me, be sure to subscribe. Click the bell to miss any videos. And, yeah, I'm going to try and get a screenshot. Hopefully not here. I might go to Neomuna or something. And get a screenshot somewhere. Or hope to God that I get I don't get Best in Tower in here. Again. When I reload. But, yeah, that being said, hope you guys did enjoy. And I'll see you guys next video. Last one I said to make. Have a good day, buddy. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for Sonic Frontiers. And Sunday, I think it's going to be Persona 5 or Breath... Actually, it's probably Breath of the Wild, all things considered. If not one of those two, then we'll be starting up Let's Play 51, which I'm very excited to have you guys see. It's gonna be very fun, very difficult, and hopefully you guys do enjoy that. But yeah, I'll see you guys for the last one I said to make. Have a good day, everybody, and stay safe.